Did I ever? I don't think I ever posted.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Public Opinion Court's collaboration with Real Life Street Stars, where the truth ain't reality, but opinions are. And just like yesterday, we are here to give you all the overview of the day-to-day breakdown of the Freaky Rico trial of the century, featuring none other than the man with the most names that I've ever seen: Diddy Love, Daddy Love, Puffy Love, Baby Oil Love, whatever love or whatever puff or pee. He is on trial, and we are here to give you the legal takes from the testimony and evidence that are presented throughout this trial. And today was a really interesting day that we're going to get into. But before we get into it, I'm going to introduce myself. I am attorney Thelma Anderson. I currently practice only business transactional with the BYOB firm, where I do everything from business formation to intellectual property, contract templates, to crisis management. So if you are in a crisis and you need to nuck and not buck, that's what we do. We keep you from bucking, which gonna keep you out of jail and having to get a bond, because I know how some of y'all get down. And that's a little bit about myself. And my co-host is going to introduce herself, and then we're going to go straight into the hot topic.
Hi, everyone. My name is attorney Adria McKnight. I am a licensed attorney in the state of Texas as well as Michigan. For the past almost 14 years, I've spent the majority of my career as a criminal defense attorney. I've represented well over 2,500 people at this point, probably closer to 3,000. Quite frankly, I have forgotten. So what I do is represent those people who are accused of committing criminal offenses. I like to say I'm a litigator. I'm in court often on these type of cases, from simple theft to murder. I have literally done it all. At this point in my career, I am now representing more crime victims and helping them discover civil remedies. So people like Cassie, or people who are hurt and injured in apartment complexes or the club, I now represent a lot of them in helping them find civil recourse, aka money, in these cases. So I'm excited to be here. I'm actually at work right now because I've had a very beautiful day in court all day. So
yes,
but I'm here.
And before we get into the hot topics, make sure you are liking, subscribing, following, and turning on your notifications, as well as, because we are collaborating with Real Life Street Stars, hit their link to go purchase some of their merch that they do have that is what you want. So with that being said, y'all, on this particular hot topic, it pissed me off so bad, y'all, that I went and checked GPT, and I was like, give me the read that I need in order to let RG3 know that he needs to stop playing with Black women. As if we asked him to answer the chat. But he liked to answer the chat when it comes to us, but he's mute when it comes to the lactose intolerant. Because we know that Black people are lactose intolerant. So he said he liked milk. Milk is good for you, good. But you also know that Black people are not supposed to be drinking milk at a high rate. I think the last time my doctor told me, it was like at a 97% of Black people should not drink milk. So I just wanted to throw that statistic out there so y'all can make sure y'all not out here drinking the milk that ain't clean, which is the cow milk. But we're going to get right into it, because I want you all's opinion on what y'all feel about this back and forth, because Ryan Clark came out and defended Angel Reese against RG3's inflammatory rhetoric when he said that it is clear that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark hit her with a flagrant foul. And she's not supposed to sit, and she's supposed to just sit there and not defend herself. So I want you all to give us your opinion on how you feel in the comment section so we can engage on this particular hot topic. But I'm about to play the original clip from Ryan, because I know I ain't hear nothing wrong. I heard someone that was very articulate and not disrespectful, but making sure that you understand that Black women are going to be protected on his watch. So let me bring the video to the stage.
Expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate, because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese pushed one of her teammates. Caitlin Clark had a hard foul, which is part of basketball. I feel like it was assessed correctly. And Angel Reese's reaction is the sort of reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness. That's rivalry. That's not hate. And so now, though, when RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train, and now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story. Right. The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what Black women have to endure in this country, about what young Black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. Now, when you look at it, I think A'ja Wilson is the face of the league. A'ja Wilson is the best player in the league. Caitlin Clark is the most important player in the WNBA. And a ton of her fandom has come along with some racial bias or some racial pieces to why people love her so much. And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what Black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping. And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with. When I worked with RG3, he would make all of these sort of corny jokes about milk and how much he loved it and how important it was. And he always points out on social media the color of his wife's skin, as if the color of her skin is what makes her special, as if the color of her skin is what makes her a good wife. I've met the lady, I've had a conversation with her. Right. I think she's more than that. But it also leads to what Black women deal with a lot from Black men who have chose to date or marry outside of their race. They always feel like they have to go the extra mile to prop up the woman that they're married or the woman that they're with over Black women by denigrating Black women. I feel like we should have an opportunity to move past that and understand that Angel Reese can be great in her own right, as Caitlin Clark is as well. Caitlin Clark is a likable and lovable superstar. She pays homage to the stars of the past. She pays homage to the Black women that have come before her. And now she is carrying the mantle forward. So there's no need to pin those two against each other and paint them based on stereotypical tropes. And I think this is what I'd like RG3 to know, that no matter how much he continues to echo the microaggressions of racists, he'll be no less Black than me.
Hold up.
I can't hear you. Your mic is...
Oh, I'm mute.
You're mute.
I was mute because I was ready. I was ready before I could unmute it. So one question I wanted to pose before we go to the video of the rebuttal is for the audience to tell us whether yes or no that they felt that if they felt that Ryan Clark disrespected RG3's wife, because that's the whole rhetoric and the energy that he's given. Is he felt like Ryan disrespected his wife. Now, I didn't see any disrespect in that, in his whole breakdown, because if he's referencing your behavior and what you do, then don't do it. And we won't have to reference and draw your attention back to your behavior and your patterns.
But I will say, like, I just feel like we should keep people's family out of little online beef, right? Like, if someone mentions my name, I would expect my husband to defend me in some way, just because I have nothing to do with this. What he says at work, what he volunteers to talk about regarding me, it really has nothing to do with me. Now, for her, she could feel the exact same way. What did I do to get in this? I'm not the one sitting at work with you. I'm not the one talking to this man with you. I don't even know this man. It sounds like they're just in passing. And so I understand why he may have felt the need to defend his wife, because the expectation would be for anyone to defend their wife. So you playing devil's advocate, because I don't rock with him and I love Ryan Clark. I think he's an amazing, he's becoming an amazing journalist, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get it. But at the same time, it's almost like your kids. Don't talk about people's kids. Because when you talk about people's kids, they get on the defense automatically and they miss the point of what you were trying to make. So I think wives should be left out of men's conversations, just like I think kids should be left out of the men's conversation. So I get it, but I don't think he was disrespectful, but let's just leave the wives out of it.
And I agree to a certain extent. I agree with the overall view of leaving people's kids and wives out of the chat. Do not put them in the chat. I also feel like your spouses, when they open themselves up to enter the chat with their behavior of participating in what is considered racial celebrations to target African Americans, to build up someone that is not of the African American descent, but to also cheer on their favorite. It's okay to have a favorite. Listen, if that's your favorite, that's cool. But when you are putting out content that clearly identifies and has a racial undertone under it, and you can't get away from it. So I think Ryan, in his breakdown, he's referencing times where they would do content and they are disparaging African American women, and she's in the background cheering it on instead of her staying out of the chat. So for me, I mean, how RG3 intentionally categorized Angel Reese to say she hates someone that physically committed a flagrant foul. Flagrant, you don't get a flagrant for just tapping your fellow basketball player from your opponent. You don't get a flagrant just from tapping. You get it from intentionally causing a egregious foul. So when he's
basketball,
it's basketball.
That's a part of being a competitor. We see the guys do it it's the playoffs right now. That's what basketball is, right? A part of it is strategic, a part of it is talent. And so I don't understand why this has really even become a topic, other than he made it something. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just two competitors doing what they are being paid to do, which is compete on the court.
And guess what? Even after that flagrant. Some of because the WNBA is investigating the fans of the Indiana Pacers, mean the Indiana Storm or whatever their name is, Indiana Fever, for saying racial comments to Angel Reese throughout the duration of the game. So, and after, for her to be a class act, when they asked her about it, she said, "This is basketball. Let's move on. We're not getting into that." Only for a RG3 to come and equate her reaction to a flagrant foul to hating another individual, that is inflammatory on every level. And it's no wonder that he does not have a position as a sports reporter at this very moment. He gets on these platforms and he thinks he's disposable because he likes to align himself in what he says with the milk. He likes to align himself with milk. And then guess what milk does? It spoils and it rottens and it throws him out every single time. No one shows up to support him other than Black people when it's clear that he has been done wrong. But as soon as it's time for him to shut his fucking mouth about Black women, he enters this chat each and every time to show us exactly who he is. And I want to play his response to show how over the top he was, as if he's some gangster that can roll up on Ryan Clark and not get the business. The video then add itself. So let me bring it.
About my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark, which was purely based in basketball.
Oh wait.
But I think all of you know there's a line in life that
I'm
you
not
just
really
simply
sure
don't
when
cross.
we moved in.
Wives and children are always off limits. And Ryan Clark
to the stage.
has sprinted past that. Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. Sports media, I'm going to have an opinion. This person might not agree with it. That person might not agree with it. But what you don't do is turn around and personally attack me and my family just because you don't agree with a sports opinion that is purely based off the sport. I didn't make it personal. But what that really shows is just how low of a person Ryan Clark is. But Ryan, you crossed the line, man. You made it personal and some. I really believe there should be no space in sports media for personal attacks. I've said it before. But certainly personal attacks against wife and children have always been off limits. Ryan, you attacked me and my family in a public forum on a level that shows just how low of a human being you are. You can disagree with me all you want. Challenge my takes, but keep my family and my wife out of it. That's a boundary that should always be respected, man. Always. Ryan Clark personally attacking.
What do you think?
I mean, I feel like leave families out of it. I do. I agree with that part. I think that wives, children, someone in the comments said mama's absolutely off limits. And so I completely agree with that part of what he's saying. However, I think he may be oblivious as to how his comments may have been received and perceived by others, specifically Black women who are hypersensitive, because we are. We live with this inherent bias that follows us. And so I feel like black men who understand that, black men who are around black women may also feel the burden of what we feel.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate men like Ryan Clark who stand up for us in these moments. And I feel like what he said could have been just as effective without mentioning his wife. So if you have some favor to white women as a black man, that's your business. We're not losing any sleep over him. But I also feel like let's just like leave the wives out of this. Like let's talk about really what is at the root of why Ryan Clark feels like this and why black women who heard that may be able to relate to feeling like that in moments where they're just being a competitor.
Yeah.
And they're just being excellent at what they do. They're just being passionate. And so I get that. I understand that. I've been the victim of comments like that in court.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's something that, we carry. That's a burden that we carry around with us. And I think that because of that, we're often extremely sensitive. I know I am. Like, you better watch how you talk to me.
Same.
At any moment, I could feel some kind of way and may have to correct that. And so, sometimes I have to even check myself. Like, is this person just doing their job or is this person being a racist?
Yeah.
And that's something I have to dig deep sometimes to figure out. Is this person just doing their job or is this person has some bias against me because I'm a black woman?
Agreed. And like I said, I agree. I'm never going to come after your family. What bothers me about RG3 is you made a total contradiction of saying Ryan made it personal as if you did not make a personal attack on Angel Reese. What you literally did was put a narrative that was never there until individuals like himself like to inject that narrative that they don't like each other. He could have kept it basketball. He didn't have to bring a personal emotion into his commentary other than one, to tear black women down and for clickbait because he's looking for a job and nobody wants to hire him. So guess how he's trying to get hired? By talking about black women, because black women bring views. Black women bring a level of attention to you that you don't even receive at home. That's why you're constantly attacking black women. It's like, we don't care that you have a Caucasian wife. Go be happy, but stop attacking us. Stop adding to the damage that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. If you wanted to keep it basketball, you could have said something totally different than saying that somebody hates someone because you don't know how she feels about that individual. You are assuming like you always do, and an assumption is always damaging to black women.
But in all fairness, a moment that comes to my mind is Beyonce at the Grammys. And I remember when she won Best Album of the Year for Cowboy Carter, and behind her was this country artist who looked so bitter. I immediately said, this person looks so mad. She's so jealous of what's going on. That's what I felt like was going on. And so maybe in his heart of hearts, he truly felt like, oh, this woman hate her simply because of how he felt like she looked at her. And so, what he truly feels, I don't know. I don't think he's really relevant. I don't even think he's worthy of this hot topic because who is he? I mean, he hasn't been really anybody in many years. And so my opinion on people like that is, they can stand or whatever to try to get the clout that they want. But that runs up. That well runs dry. So, like, black forever is all I have to say. So,
exactly. Like, You ain't gonna get hired off the backs of us, RG3. Go find somebody else to play with and stop playing with black women, because the next time you need us, we're not showing up, just like we ain't been showing up to these rallies. We've been staying our butts at home, because guess what? When we do our job, we do it and we show up. But we ain't showing up to that foolishness that you're trying to start a race war between two individuals who just want to play basketball and make their money and go home and spend their coins.
Shout out to all the women athletes. Like, I love that this is giving publicity to the WNBA. And so I love that, you know, there's really no good or bad publicity.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that people are watching and are tuned in. And I hope they both win. I like to see them both excel.
Exactly. Me too. So with that, we're about to get straight into day 7 of the Freaky Rico breakdown. And today we got through almost 4 witnesses. And that was, I didn't expect that. But I kind of felt the way the defense was limiting their cross-examinations. And I was very concerned because they were not hitting their targets or really going for what they needed to. Just the overview, David James, the assistant of Diddy from 2006 to 2007, testified. Cassie's mom testified, but the defense did not cross-examine her. And they said it was strategic, because then they were going to have to remind the jury of some of the things that they just simply don't want to refresh their memory on. So that's what the consensus is. It was strategic. Mr. Punisher with the ED problem. I'm like, this is TMI. You got a erectile dysfunction? I'm like, we need to know that. I'm like, you can't perform and you at a Diddy freak off? We're going to get into that. And we had a special agent testify, who is the individual who was who did the setup for the raid in Miami when Diddy was about to get on a plane to go overseas in March of 2024, before he was ever indicted. They were just on surveilling him the entire time. They had been surveilling him since the whole Cassie settlement. And that is scary.
That's what they do.
I know, but I'm like, y'all just,
that's why the feds are the feds. They watch you before they arrest you. They don't move with haste. Like, they are very strategic in how they prosecute cases.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. It's pretty masterful when you get into some of these federal cases, because you're like, where did you get this information from 5 years ago? And why did you sit on it for the past 20 years? You know? And so that's just what they do.
Yeah, like turkey leg cut. That man was a couple of months from the statute of limitation running, and they got him 3 months before the statute of limitation. Said that's some cold-blooded BS. Like, you mean to tell me I'm 3 months away from getting away with my crime, and y'all come and get me? Now I gotta prove myself. Oh, nah, no. So David, I'm gonna bring David to the stage. David is Diddy's ex-assistant and personal assistant. And we know when celebrities hire personal assistants, they're supposed to sign an NDA, and they are intertwined into a lot of personal things. And I feel like there's a line, and I don't think Diddy understood that line, because them lines was commingling. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that line, but David was a part of that line. He was okay with that line until that line almost got him killed. So we're going to get into his testimony. The overview of his testimony, 2007 to 2009. I thought it was 2008, but I do think that he stayed on 6 additional months after he put in his resignation to train a new assistant. I don't know why you did that. His overall testimony was his experience with Diddy. He exposed some of the control, fear, and potential crimes that were conducted that the government feels like contributes to the Rico and the sex trafficking. I'm going to just tell you, I didn't hear anything that was related to the sex trafficking. I may be wrong, but I don't remember hearing anything that could get to the sex trafficking. So some key points to his testimony is James stated that Diddy was involved. Oh, he's the one that confirmed how many women he had because he's the personal assistant. So he gonna know because he probably got to buy the flowers. He probably got to book the flights, coordinate all of that, have different energies for these women. And I'm like, that's a hard ass job. You got to please him and make sure all his women are good. So he told us about all of his 5 women, including Cassie. He said that he asked her why she would not leave. And his response was, she said that she could not leave because he controls her life. He controls her music. He pays her apartment. So he felt like he had some emotional control over her. That's what was his take from his experience with them. He said that he overheard Diddy refer to Cassie as a young and multiple, suggesting predatory intent and grooming behavior. So this David is the one that said that Diddy also identified Kim Porter as his queen. There was nobody above Kim Porter. Everybody was below her.
Is that like a surprise though? I think just regular people who are familiar with the situation knew that he had a thing for Kim Porter. So
it was,
I don't think that's really shocking testimony from anyone.
So he also testified that he had to work long hours. Of course, his responsibility, booking accommodations, trips, preparing medicine bags that included ecstasy, Viagra, Percocets, like at times over $10,000 in cash, plus more. He said he admitted to witnessing Diddy consume ecstasy and Percocets. He also detailed an incident in Miami where he delivered an iPod to Diddy's room and found Cassie on the bed with a strange man present, indicating suspicion of sexual behavior. He had an occasion where Diddy was having a New Year's Eve party, and everybody know it ain't no party like a Diddy party. And he decided that he was going to take some ecstasy too. And he took some ecstasy and he started doing the Diddy bop. I don't know what this man was looking like doing the Diddy bop on the ecstasy pill, but based off of his body makeup, it probably looked ridiculous. So he said that Diddy recorded him and would use that particular recording as blackmail to go on a possible smear campaign to keep him from being a personal assistant to any other celebrity that he may go and work for. So
this just sounds crazy. Like, my thing is, I'm going to keep a video of you dancing so you can't get a job. Like, that doesn't even make logical sense. That may have been in his head, but I highly doubt this video of him dancing was being used to sort of blackmail him or prevent him from getting opportunities in the future. Like, I just don't believe that. This
I
is
want to see
an
it.
example of someone taking a little piece of evidence and trying to make it into something, but it doesn't even make sense.
Listen, I want to see that video. Because back then, that Diddy Bop was a stupid dance. It was very stupid. And yeah, it was very stupid. So I don't know what kind of Diddy Bop, and you must wasn't doing a Diddy Bop. But I don't get it. So he went on to testify. There were like 2 occasions where some things had come up missing, like a Cartier bracelet and some money. So he said what Diddy did was make him go under a lie detector examination with a former FBI agent, and he took the test. Apparently, he passed the test according to his testimony, which is how he kept his job. But he feared that was going to, if he said anything about the lie detector test, it was going to result in retaliation. And he felt like this was also a form of manipulation. That, why are you making me take a lie detector test? You think I stole something? And
Obviously.
And I'm like,
I mean, what's the difference between that? We don't have access to a lie detector test. But what's between that and installing cameras in your office or in your house to watch whoever's coming in and out? Like,
yeah,
I feel like I may not be able to trust you. Perhaps I want to do those things to watch you until you gain my trust again.
Agreed.
So what's so extraordinary about that?
Agreed.
If I had the money, I wish I could.
Girl, I wish I could
lie detector tests, right?
And I wish that was admissible some of the time, not all the time, but some of the time that should be admissible for some of you people that are predators of lying. Yeah. So he also testified to the possible freak offs in the cover-up behavior, saying that Diddy purchased sex supplies like condoms, lubricants, baby oil, but to refuse to use expenses through the business to avoid creating a paper trail. That's not uncommon. Anybody that know, like, if I'm out here committing a crime, why would I use my business to make these purchases? So that's something he added to it, which the government is trying to say that's a willful attempt to hide your sexual activity. He also did mention Suge Knight. This is when he said he had to leave.
Yeah,
he said he had to get up out of there because he said he ran up on Suge and Suge, you still alive? That means that if I'm with you and they see you, I'm gonna be unalive. So he said that Diddy had guns. They had got word that Suge Knight was somewhere, and they rolled him. Diddy and D-Rock rolled up on Suge, and allegedly D-Rock said to Suge, "I'm Biggie homeboy," and they said Suge shook his hand, and that was supposed to be a form of disrespect. But they didn't off him. They didn't unalive him. So he was like, then y'all left that man alive? Oh, I gotta go. And that's when he put in his 2 weeks notice. I mean, not his 2 weeks, but
his
notice. He said,
I'm out.
He said, I've seen enough. Y'all to maybe take 2 lie detector tests. I couldn't even take my ecstasy in peace, and I let you take your ecstasy in peace and do whatever you want to do, carry around your illegal drugs. And I can't, I gotta go. So he wasn't as animated as me, but what I pulled from his testimony, as in what the government was trying to do, I felt like under the Rico, they were trying to use his testimony to support that Diddy led an enterprise with a clear pattern of drug facilitation, control, intimidation, and concealment of his behavior. I don't think that he testified that he wasn't aware of the sex trafficking movement behavior. So I don't think the government used him for the sex trafficking. Only thing he added is that he saw Cassie on the bed on one occasion with a strange man, and it looked like it was going down, and it wasn't Diddy, and Diddy was in there in a bathroom doing whatever he was doing. He, in my opinion, he did not have any information on the transportation aspect. That's why it's a X right there, because he wasn't around that time. Like, he was also in the beginning stages. He was not around at the moment when they were doing the freak offs. So I don't really know how much he added to it. I don't know if he was just a buffer or what, but he didn't give to me enough to be a supporting cast. I just think that they are trying to make everything stick. What do you think about the value of his testimony, and what exactly was the reason? What was the reason?
So I think they called him because probably outside of Cassie, he probably had the most intimate relationship with Diddy.
Oh, yeah.
So he would have a great vantage point about things that were happening inside of Diddy's life.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I have with trying to use him to try to prove that this was some criminal enterprise is a lot of the things that he was doing is consistent with what most assistants or personal assistants do for the person that they're working for. Mm-hmm. So, I think that if you're spending a lot of time with your personal assistant, there is times when business and pleasure will intertwine. Whether that's you're traveling on vacation with us, you're packing my bags for me. All of this is not really uncommon for a personal assistant to do, especially for someone who has that much celebrity and that much money and probably so little time. So I don't really know, other than giving a jury a snapshot of a day in the life of Diddy, what he truly offered, because again, there is just this missing link of this pattern of conduct that was criminal and used to further advance, sex trafficking. I'm missing the link. And I think that a jury is also missing the link, because you can have a billion illegal acts, but if you don't show on that Venn diagram how they meet in the middle, then what are we doing? Yeah. You're trying a billion different illegal cases or criminal offenses that are not indicted. He's not indicted. I got my indictment today. He's not indicted for any of that. Yeah. So I just feel like there needs to be more focus and direction in what this testimony is supposed to bring. Nobody's trying to hear about Suge Knight and all of this stuff. Tell me what I need to know so that I can make a decision and determination about whether someone is guilty or not guilty. That's probably where these juries are. It's probably fun and sensational to see all of these celebrities come in and talk about a day in the life of working for a celebrity. But at the end of the day, those jurors are going to get frustrated. Yeah. They're going to want to go home. They're losing money from work. So they want to know what facts do you have to support the elements in this 14-page indictment? What can you prove? Yeah. Based off of what is before the court.
Yeah. And you are absolutely right. Like, oftentimes I feel like prosecutors get in the way of how they're actually supposed to prove the case. Like, you cannot deviate from the elements. You got to be so dialed into the elements to where when it is not necessary to use a certain person just because you can. Because prosecutors do just because testimony. Like they would just because you're the death. And I'm like, you ain't even need that. You just lost the jury because you brought a just because that you didn't need. And there were two things that happened also. One was what the truth super chat was, and thank you for the super chat. He said, Diddy, there was a mention of Obama. Why Obama is in it, and Obama like, how did I get in this?
Everybody's in it.
Everybody in it. So on the ecstasy pills, why did they have Obama's face on it?
I need to see this. Did they show a pill? Because those pills are so small. How did they even get a print of a face on ecstasy pill?
I hope so, because that's what the assistant said, that Diddy specifically made his dealers get pills with Obama's face on it. That was actually what the assistant testified to. And I ain't gonna hold you, I was sitting here dozing off. And when I heard Obama, I said, now how y'all gonna put Obama in it? Obama is minding his retirement. Yeah, he gave us 8 strong years and was disrespected. He looked like he was tired. He did everything that he could. And y'all put this man's face on the ecstasy pill?
I need to see that. Maybe he was talking about the package. I've never seen an ecstasy pill in all of my years of practice. I done seen a lot of drugs, be it offered for evidence. I've never seen one that letters, yes. Faces, no. But I would love,
Yes, listen, Nino Black said you can stamp anything on a pill. Well, Nino, what you know? Nino, what we can see a stamped. I don't want to see Obama. I want to leave. I
want to see a picture stamped on a pill.
Yeah, I don't want my picture on. I just want somebody's picture. I want to see it. I just want to see that it's a possibility.
I'm not saying it's. I just have never seen it. There's a lot of drugs on the market that I'm sure I've never seen. So I've just never seen it in any of my drug cases. So
yeah. So I think the consensus with the assistant testimony is they need more. They're gonna need more. It wasn't given, and I want to make sure that they understand that when you are doing your closing argument, you are bound to have to remind them of all these people, and you're going to fall flat on some of them. So why even waste your time? It's about being efficient and effective, not a just because. So I felt like he was a just because today. But I forgot to mention, they approached him and basically said, if you don't talk, you ain't gonna walk.
If you don't talk.
Means that he could have been in trouble.
Oh, wait, you talking about the DA?
The government with
the prosecutors. So does he have immunity?
He has some type of he has something. I didn't hear immunity, but they talked about that.
That he has something prompting him to testify. I'm sure they've offered him something.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like if he was the one facilitating all of whatever, then he could potentially be responsible in some sort of way. So I'm sure they offer him something, which is why he's there. Like a lot of the people, they're there because they're afraid of being prosecuted. So they're saying, look, I'm going to do whatever you need me to do, essentially.
Oh, he has a proffer agreement.
Okay, so they proffered him something based off of if they're satisfied with his testimony.
Exactly.
So you know how those proffers work is you'll testify and you give me this for that. And if we're now satisfied, then, will basically honor whatever agreement. But if you get up on the stand and you start playing around, then we're going to charge you with something too. So, all of this, everybody has something. It feels like in this case, whether it's money, whether it's an incentive to testify so that they don't get charged with a criminal offense. It just feels like everybody has been given something in this case, which isn't completely uncommon, for big time cases. But when the evidence is so weak, it's more needed. And I feel like that's what we're seeing unfold before us.
And speaking of, this person ain't weak based off his body type. So I'm gonna bring Mr. Punisher to the stage. Hold on, where is Mr. Punisher? Mr. Punisher did not live up to his name today because he had us all bamboozled. I'm thinking he about to tell us he got a mandingo that he holding. He said he got the name Punisher from playing basketball in a neighborhood.
And he just carried it into his adult career.
Exactly. And The Freezer Meat is the name of his book. And I'm like, sir, please stop. Please. And
this is information that a jury just doesn't care about. Like, we want to know, sir, what were you doing? What were you doing and how are you related to this case?
Yes.
What were you doing in the bedroom with them? That's what the jurors want to know. What did you see while you were there?
Yes. Yes.
To be there. They don't care about how you, in fact, who even asked that? I wouldn't have even asked that question if I was, I hope that was the defense who asked that question, because if I was the prosecutor, I absolutely would not have asked that question. I would have wanted the jury to believe that this man is,
a Punisher.
Like a dominant. I don't know what the male version of dominatrix is, but that's what I would assume most people would think of when they hear that name in this context.
Yes. I was so underwhelmed. I was actually pissed off. I'm like, sir, get out of our face with that, because you could have you could have kept that. You could have kept that. So Mr. Punisher, who ain't really a Punisher and got an ED problem, he testified that he met them in 2012. And Diddy's request was that he wanted a sexy, erotic scene for him, Cassie, and Diddy. Now, he did say for, the initial encounters, they were masked up. Like, they would not show their face. But, of course, he knew the voice. Diddy got a very distinctive voice. So he knew who it was. He talked about on the first time that she had on a wig. She was in a robe with nothing under, and he got paid $800 to perform a scene with baby oil. Diddy was there, but he was invisible. So he was hiding somewhere. He was hiding. And he said that they had about 8 to 12 encounters of freak-offs. Diddy participated on some, but of course not all. He said they would last 4 hours. Sometimes he would get there at 2 and not leave until 11 o'clock the next morning. So he would get there at 2 in the morning, not leave till 11 o'clock. And I'm like, if you got ED, how is you even capable of maintaining on the level that Diddy want?
Well, that's what those Viagra pills were for.
Listen, and he even said Diddy yelled at him one time. Like, he said he got anxiety because he couldn't perform to the level of the expectation. I'm like,
at what point, though? right? If you participated 8 to 12 times, at what point did you get anxiety? Because you kept going back and cashing that check. So it's kind of hard to believe that you were just so distraught over what was going on when you went back 8 to 12 times to participate. He punished us with his testimony.
Sassy Cassie, girl, listen. That man, I'm like, what, sir? What? So he said that on some occasions he would get paid $1,200. I'm like, that's not enough for me. Y'all getting they discount y'all. But
it's still really unclear what occurred, right? Like he talked about some of these sexual expectations. It was kind of unclear. Like he said, okay, Diddy said, don't look at him. You know, I don't, a lot of this just comes across as these kinky fetishes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this is about fulfilling people's fetishes. And so is that really like criminal?
And on the very first encounter, he said Diddy made him have sex with Cassie without protection. So he couldn't use a condom.
He chose not to use a condom. Right.
He wanted that $800.
Exactly. And it came at the cost of him not using, like a lot of this stuff, again, I don't like a lot of these witnesses. I don't. And I feel like it's probably hard for the defense to sit there and cross-examine people who are highly unpredictable about what they're going to say.
Yeah.
But you know, going into it, that your client, I'm sure Diddy has had many conversations with his lawyers about the crazy things that he likes, the crazy things that he's done. And the lawyers are probably trying to like wrap their head around this crazy stuff while understanding that it could be wild, crazy, exotic, and still not be criminal.
Yep.
And I think that that's probably what a lot of the jurors are thinking. Some of these jurors, I guarantee, and I said this yesterday, some of these jurors are sitting there thinking, this is my fantasy.
Yeah.
I wish I could be there at one of these things.
No, you don't.
There are jurors there who feel just like this. They're probably thinking, I wish I could have lived out my fantasies in the way that he has unapologetically.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to punish him for being this sexually fluid person. I don't know if a jury is going to punish him.
They brought up, so when they started getting into they wanted to get into the demeanor of Cassie, the government, they asked him what was her demeanor, like did she appear? And of course the defense objected, and the judge sustained the objection. And as soon as they did that, I was like, I hope you don't open the door on cross-examination and ask anything about her demeanor or her body language, so that they then can come back and ask the same question. So he, of course, he talked about the body oils. He mentioned that, like he said, like the anxiety because he couldn't perform, which he found out he had ED. And he still needed that $1,200. So, you know, Diddy on occasions would throw condoms at him and tell him to get the punisher up because she needs to get punished. We ordered you to be a punisher and you are not living up to your name. And I'm pretty sure Diddy probably told him, that's the dumbass name that you have, and you ain't giving us that type of energy. So on cross, they did ask him about her demeanor. Like, did she appear like she didn't want to do it? And I was like, why would you ask that? And he was honest. He said, you know, she never said anything about it. Like, we never talked or engaged in that way for me to have, you know, a real response in that way. And the only communication we would have was a little banter before it started. So I can't tell you, you know, what she wanted to say or if she wanted to say anything. But if I saw or felt like she was uncomfortable, I would not have participated.
So that was not a bad question. If they I know I have this general rule. I don't ask questions that I don't know the answer to unless any answer won't hurt me.
Yeah.
And so when they asked that, they probably said you don't know, but you would click. I mean, that was kind of a question that he walked into, right?
Yeah.
Because if she felt uncomfortable and you continued, if she was saying no, 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 then now you're sexually assaulting someone.
Yeah.
So the only right answer for him in that moment was to say, I don't remember, I don't know, or she was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So that was some great lawyering, honestly, from the defense in that moment, that they were able to think quickly on their feet about. That's a prime example of answering or asking a question that none of the answers that he would possibly say would hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, when they kept it short with him, it wasn't a long cross, and they even was like, congratulations on your book. What's the name of your book? And he talked about the freezer. And I said, now come on. Why you have to do that?
You should have named the book The
freezer meat. The freezer meat. So just to give the audience a little overview of what I think the government was trying to do with his testimony, in regards to Rico, because he mentioned payments. They were very clear on him identifying how much he would receive. And he mentioned, of course, the 800, 1200. I think he was getting other things, but they trying to use that to detail that he was being paid and trying to tie it to, of course, the enterprise, to say that they were using the enterprise to pay for illegal sex wherever they was. So that's how I kind of feel like they wanted to use him in that aspect to confirm the exchange of money, and not just die on the sword of Cassie saying that she gave money or she would be responsible for doing certain things. Sex trafficking, of course, the recruiting aspect of it all, I think they're trying to get that out through him. He doesn't give the transportation because he never left out of the state that he was in to meet them. They always met him where he lived, which I think was it Miami?
Florida sticks out to me, but
I think it was Miami. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that he gives the transportation, but I think they're using him for the first two counts, and of course they are trying. The government or a prosecutor would try to allege that they prove transportation. If he drove to that, they would do some real stupid stuff. And I'm like, no, that y'all didn't give that today with this particular witness. So yeah, where the transportation at? Because I ain't seen the transportation yet, other than Cassie.
Yeah, I haven't. What did Dawn testified? Did she ever talk about what state they were in? Because they're just trying to show like he was in multiple states doing this across state lines. But I can't remember if she ever talked about seeing what she saw in a different state.
Yeah.
Or multiple states.
I don't remember that part. And I don't.
And that's the problem, right? If
we
are following this trial, and we don't even remember what a juror said that goes to an element, that means that testimony was not as impactful as the state would have hoped that it would be.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, really and truly. Yeah. This is So, yes, they have plenty of time left on this trial, but if you don't capture those jurors in the beginning of a trial, by week 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they are ready to go home.
Yeah. They got holidays coming up, which
it's already, I hate trying cases when the holiday is coming.
Yes. And they got three. They got a 3-piece. They got Memorial Day, they got Juneteenth, and they got 4th of July.
And if you don't think those jurors are going to be mad by the 4th of July,
because they probably had a vacation plan.
Are these juries sequestered?
No.
Oh.
No gag, no nothing. No, I'm like, why on this particular case should have been a gag, should have been a. So you got to keep these type of jurors out of the streets.
Right, because I know they're going home every day looking at everything that CNN is saying, Fox News is saying, Instagram is saying, the Shade Room is saying. But maybe they thought because the jury is older that it wasn't really an issue, because they're not going to be on Instagram or TikTok looking at Diddy breakdowns. So that could have been something that they agreed on, where they didn't feel like this jury in this instance was a threat. And also, yes, he is getting nationwide coverage, but it's not like the O.J. Simpson trial, right? And a part of the reason for that is because we're not able to watch it in real time. You're relying on basically people to report what they heard. And that's much different than being able to watch it live and see these witnesses on the stand. It's very different.
Body language. We got to look at
notes.
These sketches.
Right. Reading notes from somebody who's taking them that we don't even know who the people are in court is much different than watching a case on television every day.
And some of the jurors were late. That's how they started late today. That's also a problem when you don't have them together, is you run into the possibility of them being late. We know in a regular trial, we run the risk of knowing that a juror may run into traffic or have an accident or something like that. But when you have this type of trial that's costing this type of money,
and it's in New York, people don't have cars. They're riding the subway to get to the jurors arriving late. That's common in every case. People do not be showing up on time.
No,
we're always waiting for jurors to arrive.
Like, what is time?
They don't care.
They're like, y'all need me.
Right, correct. They already don't want to be there, and so they get there when they can. And yes, the courts yell at them saying, you need to be here on time. And then the next day, a different juror shows up late. So I'm not surprised that these jurors are late. They're probably going to be dragging themselves along as these weeks continue. As are the lawyers. They're probably going to be tired too. Like, trial takes a lot out of you.
I don't care if trial is 2 or 3 days, baby. You are going to be, there is nothing in your brain that is going to be functioning the rest of the week. You gonna still be trying to find yourself. You gonna be like, okay, how do I get my brain cells to get back on track?
And I can't really sleep during trial. I can't eat during trial. Like, you're locked in so many different ways. At home, you're prepping. In the mornings, you're prepping. So for a case like this, where I believe he has 3 attorneys, I think he has
6.
He has 6 attorneys, and I'm sure they got some paralegals there sitting in the court, some law students there sitting in the court helping them organize exhibits and everything. Like, this is a very demanding trial.
I want to know how much he has spent on
millions.
Yeah.
6 lawyers for a case like this, millions.
Yeah.
Easily.
Speaking of, one of the shortest witnesses today was Cassie's mom. And Of course, she testified regarding the knowledge of her daughter being threatened with the sex tape coming out. And this is something that I didn't know. I did not know until today that her mom, that Diddy told her parents that they had to pay him $20,000 because she decided that she was going to go and be in a relationship with somebody, another artist. So they went and got a $20,000 equity loan on their home, gave him the $20,000, and he sent it back, I think 3 days later. Oh yeah, for Kid Cudi. It was Kid Cudi. Now what they got to do with it, Diddy? Why you do that to her parents?
And then, to be clear, Diddy was just really probably like messing with them. Like, he didn't need that money. So that was his effort to show, like, I'm gonna play around with you, but I don't need this money. So boom, here it goes. He may be a little crazy.
He around for that right
he
there.
He may be a little crazy. He's clearly controlling, but is he guilty of all of the charges in this indictment? I don't know.
So in her testimony, it was, like I said, it was very short. It was only the government. The defense did not cross-examine her. And I think the only thing that she gives them is the possible is Rico regarding the wire of the $20,000 into supposedly his business account, and the money was sent back to her through a wire. And of course that can be used like for blackmail, intimidation, extortion, things of that nature. So that's the only thing I think other than the bruises that she confirmed on Cassie, that's pretty much what I think she was used for, was simply for the Rico, because the second one, sex trafficking, I think that's more hearsay. And if I'm a defense attorney, I'm going to say she did not have personal knowledge. She was not there. She did not see. She did not hear. Her daughter told her this is a he say, she say, and you should not consider her as an individual that add any kind of evidence or testimony or weight to the last two counts. So,
but I also think that you can really spin that too if you're on the defensive side. Like, this is her mother, and let's talk about what testimony you did not hear. You know, you didn't hear this, you did not hear this, you didn't hear about him like basically like raping her. The mother didn't share a lot of the like testimony that you would anticipate someone's mom, who sounds like talked to her all the time. From what I gathered, they talked all the time. She didn't know much about the intimate details of their relationship. Of course, she didn't know like what her daughter was engaging in, whether it was voluntary or not. Mm-hmm. She didn't know about these freak-offs. So I think it's interesting that her mother did not know a lot of the information that probably a jury was waiting for her to share. So the state probably should not have called her. I mean, they called her, but I don't think that she is really helping them.
I think the defense should have asked those questions. I didn't understand. I mean, I get it, but I also felt like they had an opportunity to drive it in with the defense as to her lack of personal knowledge, so that they can remind the jury that this man is here and his freedom is on the line. And they're bringing you hearsay. Some people that didn't see anything, and you're supposed to rely on that. So I think they should have asked at least certain questions that would have been recalled in the jury's mind, but they chose to not cross-examine her, which is their right, and they also have the ability to recall her if they feel like it.
Right.
So that could be.
I would have asked about every last alleged sex worker involved. Did you ever hear her mention this person? Did you ever know she had a relationship with this person, this person, this person? In fact, you didn't know anything because she never told you.
Yeah.
So it could have been consensual and it could have not been consensual, but you don't know. So it's like they missed a moment to really drill this witness about everything that she did not know because she didn't know a lot.
No, she did. And that's why I was kind of like, I can get certain witnesses that you don't cross-examine, but you got the person that had her on the stand that is aware but not aware. And you want to ask like, hey, before this, did y'all ever keep secrets from each other? Were you surprised that she was keeping this from you and y'all tell each other everything? Yeah, like you gotta ask her something that adds value to refute the credibility of the government's case. Like I'm walking out of this courtroom with something today. Some.
Right. And you know, honestly, like when I focus on my cross-examinations of witnesses, what I'm really trying to do is show the evidence that they don't have.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's the state's burden of proof to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. It's never my client's responsibility to prove that they're innocent. That's not my job. My job is to just show that there is one single doubt. Reasonable doubt, and if there is a reasonable doubt, one singular, then he's entitled to get the benefit of that reasonable doubt, and you must acquit. Absolutely. So you know these attorneys, and of course, you know, we're missing out on seeing how they're moving in court. And seeing how the witnesses are reacting to the questioning of them in court. That can determine how you try a case. Yeah. We may put this up here on the screen and think that they're really killing it, but the way it's translating to a jury may not be killing it at all. A jury could be looking bored, disgusted. So who's to say that when they're questioning his mom, they may have stepped back based off of how a juror was looking at them.
Oh, absolutely. Because body language is real.
Correct. And
body language is real.
You're always, there's so many parts of being in trial. You're looking at the judge, you're looking at the witness, you're looking at the jurors. You're trying to see which jurors like you, which ones don't like you. Have you won any over? Have you lost any? So we're missing that. And I haven't seen any commentary talking about what they're actually observing in court as far as the demeanor of these people. I haven't seen anything about that.
And that's also something that whoever is in the court, if you are not paying attention and getting that view of the body language of the jury, like what are you there for? Just to be mesmerized over the witnesses and to be mesmerized that you in the courtroom with Diddy? No, they are the starting players. They are the stars of the show.
Correct.
Look at them. See what they are doing. Are they writing a lot? Are they in tune? Are they falling asleep? Are they engaged? Are they turning away? Are they having any kind of emotions? Are they crying? Are they frowning? Like those are very pivotal body dispositions that nobody is reporting on. And I'm like, be for real.
Right. So we need the lawyers because I wouldn't expect people just watching the trial to be looking at that, right? That's information that litigators think of.
Mm-hmm.
So I need the lawyers who are in that courtroom to start giving us the tea on what is going on with some of these witnesses and some of these jurors and the judge. I haven't even heard anything really about the judge, which honestly may be a good thing, because perhaps he's just playing his poker face and doing his job and just being the umpire of whatever is going on and not being too high or low about anything, which as attorneys we appreciate. So I wish that we could see a little more of what is truly going on in this courtroom.
I agree. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our recap of day 7 of the Freaky Rico breakdown, which was very interesting. It was one witness that we didn't get to, but he still testified. They brought him in really late. It's one of the special agents. I don't know that. I wish that the government would release who's testifying, but I get it. So I know for a fact the agent is still testifying. I know Kid Cudi is allegedly testifying on Thursday, which he probably be testifying tomorrow. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust nobody that don't know the government's witness list and who they have in order. So tomorrow is going to be interesting. Today was. You
know, it's this. We talked about this. This trial will be mostly uneventful because they started with their star witness, the one that everybody wanted to hear from. And when you start so high, it just goes downhill from there. Yeah. So unless they have some secret witnesses that, you know, they're going to call another celebrity that we're not ready for, I don't see it really going up as far as
Tuesday.
Right, is it Tuesday?
Yes.
Oh wow, it is Tuesday. So I don't see it going up, but we could be wrong. They may have some surprise witnesses that, of course, they haven't shared with the media, and they won't share with the media, because I'm assuming in this case they didn't file their witness list for that reason, because they didn't want their witnesses tampered with. So, of course, the lawyers know who are going to be on the witness stand, but I think for the people in the courtroom, it's just a surprise every day.
Yeah. It's surprise. You're like, surprise. You're like, oh.
I hope they surprise me with some evidence to prove it. That's what I'm hoping for.
Today was really all testimony. It wasn't evidence-based, and that's what I picked up on. I was like, this was really a testimony day. The special agent, I think he's going to be the evidence person because of the raid that they did.
Which means they're about to start introducing, because they're trying to establish the chain of custody right now. So it's going to be interesting to see. Do you think they're going to bring in that baby oil?
They better bring in that baby oil, because they didn't talk that baby oil up so much that the baby oil sales went up.
Yeah,
they talked that baby oil up so much.
They're going to probably bring it to the courtroom, which will be impactful, kind of, sort of, maybe. But I think that if I was a prosecutor, I would line all of that baby oil up. And if I was the defense, I would actually want it to be there. Because they presented nothing but some baby oil. And it's not a crime to possess baby oil. So line it up, fill the courtrooms, and we're still going to be looking at a bunch of baby oil and no other evidence to support what's in this indictment. Listen, I hope they bring it, and I hope that
they better bring that baby oil. I'm being so mad if they don't bring that baby oil. I said, y'all then freaking drove us to going and buying baby oil like we buy tissue and run it out when it ain't even the disaster. So you better bring that baby oil up in here, you know, doing all that pump faking and just making it a thing. He had so much baby oil. He done brought the whole West Coast out of baby oil. Come on now.
Yeah, I want them to bring the baby oil to court and show the jury all thousands of pounds of baby oil that they allegedly have, so that they can try to prove this case. But it may backfire, like I said, because I wouldn't be objecting to having a baby oil. And I would tell the jury, this is ridiculous. We wasted all of this time today looking at this. This is a distraction.
A distraction. He's just trying to make sure he is oiled up, ladies and gentlemen, oiled up. And with that, everyone, just my name is Thelma Anderson again, attorney with the BYOB firm. You can follow me on my social media channels at either the BYOB firm on Instagram or at Lawyer Bay ESQ on Instagram. My TikTok is the Public Opinion Court, and my YouTube channel is the Public Opinion Court, where you can go like, follow, and subscribe so that you can get notifications when we go live, even through our collaboration with Real Life Street Stars. And I'm going to let my co-host give her where you can follow her. And, if you need some legal services.
You can follow me on Instagram at Attorney McKnight, on TikTok as well as YouTube. For legal information as well as to hire me, please visit that'smylawyer.com to see what type of cases I accept. I'm licensed in Texas, Michigan, and federal courts in Michigan, Texas, and Oklahoma. So if you need me, call me.
Yeah, one call away. That's all it takes. Now, make sure before you leave, like, follow, and subscribe to this page, and we will see you tomorrow for another recap of the Freaky Rico.
We need a new name.